On the table behind me is tonight's project. You gotta take the scope off of that rifle and put it on that rifle. Let me explain why. This is a Browning BLR 22-250, and it was my kid's first deer rifle because it didn't have much recoil, any recoil really. And if you shoot him right, you can get a deer. He got an 8-pointer with that thing. But he's grown up and grown up to a more capable round. And so we're going to get into this, which is a 6.5 Creedmoor Browning X-Bolt. So the question I'll bet you're asking is, do I expect my kid to have, I don't know, a man bun and tight jeans? No, I don't. But thing is, where we live in northern Wisconsin, this is basically a 270. If you look at the ballistics between a 6.5 Creedmoor and a 270 inside of 300 yards, really, it's exactly the same. But this has a lot less recoil. So it's just a better option for still a smallish kid who's gonna go deer hunting, and you can actually take them down really effectively with that. And besides, it's northern Wisconsin, man. You don't get a shot outside of 100 yards. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Ever. It's all woods and swamps here. So, all right, let's go through what we need here. We got to have a screwdriver, the special scope mount kit for Browning BLR, or Browning X-Bolt. See, it says fits Browning X-Bolt models, and hopefully that all works. And then thread lock. I use the gel, and this is Permatex, because if there are screws, they're blue on a gun. So you put this thread lock on there, and I like the gel because it doesn't run all over the place. We need some a Torx pit to put those in, and then we got to get that off, so we'll use a screwdriver. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is get the old scope off. Now the scope, for everybody who cares, which most of you don't, you see it goes from 1.5 to I think 4.5. And I'm sure you're all saying, well, why don't you get a 3x9 or a 4x blah 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 blah? Again, it's northern Wisconsin, man. You don't get a shot at 100 yards. You get shots at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 yards, and that's through the woods. So you want a scope so you can see exactly where the bullet's going to go and put it in between the trees, but you don't need to zoom in so you can see the whites of their eyes. All right, so let's get started, get that scope off. And I almost forgot. Get yourself a sun drop. It's northern Wisconsin. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to loosen these, and rather than taking a screwdriver and putting it in there and twisting it and screwing up the paint, we're going to use a little trick, and let me show you that. All right, after you take a drink of sun drop, you take your screwdriver and you put it in your flannel shirt like that, and then you put it in the screw and you loosen the screw. Now, if you're my wife, you're figuring out why I have holes in my shirts right now. For the rest of you, that means you won't scratch up the paint. You can also put tape around your screwdriver, but that requires leaving the table and going to get paint or tape, so I'm just going to use this. And then once you got them, just a little loose, you can just loosen them right up, and that slides right off in theory eventually. I think I have to take the whole thing off because there's a little cross-threaded or slot in there where that screw goes through. Yep. And so that's off. And now next, we're going to put that on our X-Bolt, and hopefully it's super simple and we get her all lined up. All right, pro tip from an amateur: take those out, make sure that they fit before you screw them down with thread lock, right? So you got the right parts in place. And so we'll get that lined up and facing the right direction and put it on there. All right, now some people have fancy gun vices. I don't. Just take some wood and build this simple support on this end. And importantly, this has to be exactly 90 degrees. We'll show you why in a little bit. But you can stand your gun up. It makes it easier to work on this. And I'm going to go get a clamp, just a little hand clamp to clamp that down so it doesn't go anywhere. All right, there you go. And I am sure somebody's going to say why this is all completely wrong, but that's okay. You do you, I'll do me. this is just how I do it. So in theory, these little X's come off with this X bolt. Come on, there they go. With the 4 little screws. And that's supposed to be super impressive, that there's 4 little screws instead of whatever, 2 little screws. And this guy should mount somehow on there. I'm guessing like that. It only goes one way. Right? And we'll see. We'll do a test fit here to make sure it's right. Alright, and nothing's clamped down, but that looks like it's generally going to fit. We'll have to adjust these guys and probably slide it back a little bit to make it all work. But we'll do that after maybe another drink of sun drop. Alright, now it's time to get down to business. Now, if you've never used this thread locking gel, you are missing out on one of life's great pleasures. Just a little bit like that. You see how it just kind of comes out? And I can't do this with 2 hands, but I'll pause and then show you exactly how it works. And that right there is a thing of beauty. If you've ever used the other type of thread seal, come on, focus. Now the drips all over the place? Yeah, it's on there. And now we get to put it in and not make a mess of our gun, right? So that's a good thing. And then you leave it. You knock all the screws onto the ground. That's the requirement. Make sure the dog doesn't get them. You know, no project would be complete unless you knocked all the screws onto the floor. And you all knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. We didn't do anything about it, but okay. You don't need that plastic. Okay. Now we got a screw in there, and you don't tighten this down. You get it just a little snug, and then we put the other 4 in there. And just like anything where you have more than one screw, you put them in snug, and then you tighten, 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 tighten. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so now the question is how tight. So when you're putting them in snug, just like that, right? Just a couple finger is all you're doing, snugging them down, right? And now I feel like I should say this in case my dad's watching. When you go to the next step and you're going to actually tighten them, remember, you got blue thread seal on there. You don't need to refit. Just a little, you know, 1/8 turn or something like that to get it more snug. Little 1/8 turn. You don't want to tighten these things down. This one was a little looser, so 1/4 turn. But you don't want to tighten these so tight that you're gonna strip a thread. Right? That's dumb. Or cause the Torx nuts or Torx heads to round out. They're not going anywhere. They're tight enough down, and that blue thread seal will hold them in place. Okay, so that's good for that. So to give you an idea, this is just sitting on the table, and I'm tightening it just enough so that it moves. Right. Now we're going to tighten opposites like that. Okay. Just like putting on a tire, only we're not going crazy with an impact wrench. All right, next one, exact same thing. All right, now it's worth mentioning, since they put warnings on Q-tips, I suppose I should do the same thing. There is a right way and a wrong way to install these. In theory, you could flip them around and then have them hanging over the opening where the chamber there. Don't do that. Install them the right way. All right. Now for the scope. Okay, now we're ready. So this scope is going to go on in one of 2 places, right here or right here. And that'll depend on the eye relief. I would like to have it back here because I know that my kid's length of pull is going to be, you know, he's going to be back here pretty far. So I'm going to have to move this one all the way back here as far as it'll go, and hopefully there'll be enough to get this one into this front slot here. So we'll loosen these up, slide them around, and see if we can make it work. And I know what you're thinking. That's a Browning X-Bolt. That's kind of a top-of-the-line gun. And you're putting a Bushnell Banner scope on it. Why would you do that, you idiot? Well, here's the deal. My kid's 12, going on 12. This is going to break. Guaranteed. And there's going to be some point where he gets a different scope. Guaranteed. This gun can take the abuse, and it'll last him through, you know, all of his high school years, and then when he's in college and poor and broke, he'll still have this gun to hunt if he goes to college or trade school or whatever. And then eventually he'll get out of there, but he'll be married, and he won't have any money because he'll be renting an apartment and, you know, trying to start a family, and then he'll start a family, and then eventually he'll have kids and stuff like that. So he won't have any money for a long time. This gun will hold up, and then eventually he'll get to a point where he can afford a new gun, and this one will be obsolete anyway. So he can just, you know, throw it in the lake and never look at it again and get whatever the latest, greatest thing is then. But the point is, the scope is a throwaway item for right now. That's why it's on there, because I don't want a expensive scope on there just to be bounced off of a tree.
What the?
And of course, those are hex. So now I got to go get the hex wrench. All right, now when you do these and you loosen them, you only want to do one at a time, because what you're going to want to do is loosen this one, get it adjusted, and then make sure this one is seated down and tighten this one down. And the reason you do that is because it keeps your scope aligned horizontally or vertically, horizontally, this way, with the gun correctly, because you never loosen both of them at the same time. I'll show you how to adjust that too when we get all done. Now for the fun part, which I'm going to screw up. You got to adjust this and kind of eyeball this and say, well, I think this will be able to fit there and have enough room for this one. And I want it as far back as possible to give my kid as much eye relief as possible. So I think that's as much as I'm going to get out of this. It's really about this one here. That's as far forward as I'm going to be able to get it. So in theory, I should have moved this one first and then adjusted this one. So lesson learned. But I'm going to put some thread lock on those again and tighten them up.
What?
All right. So we got this one on and tightened down. It's hanging over the back just a little bit, this thing. I'm not crazy about that, but I don't think there's much I can do. I'm a little worried about this one and how that's going to work out, but we'll see how that's going to look. And if it's going to be a problem ejecting shells or anything, it shouldn't be cause any problems, but we shall see. All right, and just like that, we got this on, and notice this front one doesn't come back, so that's kind of interesting how this one lines up over the back and this one doesn't. There's only one way to put them on. I started questioning my sanity there. But now that we got it on, what we're going to do is just double check to make sure that the scope is on and it hasn't twisted left or right, that the crosshairs are perfectly crossed where they need to be. So to do that, you need a perfectly level spot on the wall, like this piece of trim right here. How do I know that's level? Because I've used that trim before. I put the level on there and make sure it's level. Now that I know that that's level, we move the chair. Remember how I said that it's important that this is perfectly vertical to that, right? My table is also level. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to aim the gun and lift it up and make sure that the gun is perfectly vertical, and make sure that the line on the scope, crosshair, lines up with that piece of trim. And that's how you make sure that your scope is on reasonably good. Now I'm sure somebody's going to say that's not how you do it. That's how I do it. All right. All right, when you get all done, you should have that crosshair right on the top of the trim, perfectly level. This is hard to do, zoomed in and stuff, but Hey.
Live stream is nothing.
It works.
Spam the keyboard.
All right. All we have to do is sight it in. That's a whole nother video. That's it. You got your scope ready to go. Ready for deer season.